My name is Ricky.
My name is Leo.
And my name is Michael. Mr. Twit was a horrid old man.
Mrs. Tweed was no better. One morning, when Mr. Tweed wasn't looking, she took out her glass eye and dropped it into Mr. Tweed's beer.
Mr. Twit sat so slowly drinking a beer. He was trying to think up a really nasty trick he could play on his wife.
You're plotting something, said Mrs. Tweed, keeping her back turned so she wouldn't see she had taken out her glass eye. You better be careful because I'm watching you like a wombat.
Oh, shut up, you old hag, said Mr. Tweed as he tripped down the last of the beer. He saw the glass's eye staring at him.
I told you I was watching you. I've got eyes everywhere.
To pay Mrs. Tweed back for the glass eye in his beer, Mr. Tweed slipped a frog between her bed sheets. Then he got in his own bed and waited for the fun to begin. Mrs. Tweed crept into bed and put out the light.
Ah, there's something in my bed.
I will bet you let trans kill a weaker. I saw on the floor. I tried to kill it, but it got away. I got a teach like screwdrivers.
Help! Save me! It's over my feet.
It will bind your toes.
Mrs. Tweed fainted. Mr. Tweed poured a jug of cold water over her head to revive her. When Mrs. Tweed came to, the frog had just jumped on her face.
Ah! Wait a minute. That is a frog. The next day, to pay Mr. Tweed back for the frog, Mrs. Tweed put some worms in her husband's plate of spaghetti.
The worms didn't show because everything was covered with tomato sauce and sprinkled with cheese. Hey, my spaghetti's moving!
Oh, it's a new kind. It's called squiddy spaghetti. It's delicious. She took a mouthful from her own plate, which of course had no worms.
Mr. Tweed started eating. It's not as good as ordinary kind. It's too squishy.
Mrs. Tweed waited till Mr. Tweed had eaten the whole plateful. Do you want to know why your spaghetti was squishy?
Why?
Because it was worms.
To pay Mrs. Tweed back for the worms in the spaghetti, Mr. Tweed thought up a really clever, nasty trick. One night, when the old woman was asleep, he crept out of the bed and took her walking stick downstairs to his workshed. There he stuck a tiny round piece of wood, not thicker than a penny, onto the bottom of the stick. This made the stick longer, but the difference was so small. The next morning, Mrs. Tweed didn't notice it.
Every night after that, Mr. Tweed crept downstairs and added another tiny thickness of wood to the end of the walking stick. He did it very neatly, so that the extra bits looked like part of the old stick.
Gradually, oh so gradually, Mrs. Tweed's walking stick was getting longer and longer, but it was all so slow and gradual that she didn't notice how long it was getting, even when it was halfway up to her shoulder.
One day, Mr. Tweed said to her,
That stick's too long for you.
Why? So it is. I have a feeling there was something wrong, but I couldn't for the life of me think what it is.
There's something wrong, alright?
What could have happened? It must have suddenly grown longer.
Don't be a fool. How can a walking stick grow longer? It's made of a dead wood, isn't it? Dead wood can grow.
Then what on earth has happened?
It's not the stick, it's you. It's your legs getting shorter. I have been noticing it for some time.
That's not true.
You are shrinking, woman.
It's not possible.
Oh, yeah, it is. You are shrinking fast. You are shrinking dangerously fast. Why? You must have a strong at least a foot in the last few days.
Never.
Of course you have. Take a look at your stick, your old goat, and see how much you are shrunk. You have got a shrink. That's what you have got. You have got the dread string.
Mrs. Tweed began to feel so trembly. She had to sit down. But when she did, Mr. Tweed pointed and shouted,
There you have it. You are sitting in your old chair and you have shrunk so much your feet aren't even touching the ground.
Mrs. Tweed looked down at her feet, and sure enough, the man was right.
You see, every night when Mr. Tweed had stuck a little bit extra onto the stick, he had done the same to the legs of Mrs. Tweed's chair. Just look at you sitting in your same old chair, and you have shrunk so much your feet are dangling in the air.
Mrs. Tweed went white with fear.
You have got the shrink, you have gotten them bad, you have gotten the most terrible case of shrink I have ever seen.
Mrs. Tweed, grown so fainted. She began to tremble. But Mr. Tweed, still remembering the wounds in his spaghetti, didn't feel sorry for her at all.
I suppose you know what happened to you when you get the shrink.
What? What happens?
Your head string into your necks, and your neck string into your body, and your body string into your legs, and your legs string into your feet. And in the end, there's nothing left but a pair of shoes and a bundle of the old clothes.
Oh, I can't bear it.
It's terrible. This is the worst in the world.
How long have I got? How long before I end up as a bundle of old clothes and a pair of shoes?
At the rate you are going, I say not more than 10 or 11 days.
But isn't there anything we can do?
There's only one cure for the shrink.
Tell me, oh, tell me quickly.
Well, have to hurry.
I'm ready. I'll hurry. I'll do anything you say.
You won't last long if you don't.
What is it I must do?
You have got to be stretched. Mr. Tweed led Mrs. Tweed outdoor, where he had everything ready for the great stretching.
There were 100 balloons and lots of drinks.
There was a glass cylinder for filling the balloons. There was an iron ring fixed into the ground.
He pointed to it and said, Stand here. He said he tied Mr. Tweed's ankle to the iron ring. When that was done, he began filling the balloons with gas.
Each balloon was on a long string, and when it was filled with gas, it pulled on its string, trying to go up and up.
Mr. Tweed tied the end of the strings to the top half of Mrs. Tweed. Some he tied around her neck, some under her arms, some to her wrists, and some even to her hair. Soon, there were 50 colored balloons floating in the air above Mrs. Tweed's head.
Can you feel them stretching you?
I can. They're stretching me like mad.
He put on another 10 balloons.
The upward pull became very strong. Mrs. Tweed was quite helpless now. With her feet tied to the ground and her arms pulled upward by the balloons, she was unable to move. She was a prisoner.
Mr. Tweed had intended to go away and leave her like that for a couple of days and nights to teach her a lesson. In fact, he was just about to leave when Mrs. Tweed opened her big mouth and said something foolish.
Are you sure my feet are tied properly to the ground? If those strings around my ankles break, it's goodbye for me.
And that's what gave Mr. Tweet
His second
Nasty
idea.